I'm Dr. Duke with The New American, and I am pleased to have a second conversation with Arthur Thompson, the CEO of the John Birch Society. Art, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
It's always good to talk about something uplifting, and we know that giving thanks is an important thing. Talk a little bit about your view. Where does this Thanksgiving holiday rate with you, and what do you think its main purpose is ultimately for Americans in this new 2020-21 moving forward here?
Well, let's go back to the origins, if you don't mind. A lot of people really don't understand or appreciate just how hard it was to be a pilgrim and why they had Thanksgiving. Now, today we think of Thanksgiving as a single word, but if we'd say it in reverse, giving thanks, we'd have a little bit better appreciation of the word itself. And thanks to whom? To God, for the hardships that they had come through and were still sustaining. You know, a lot of people don't even realize at that time they didn't even have horses. Rare that there was a cow. They did everything by hand. If they wanted to grow something, they had to dig the dirt by themselves. All sorts of things coming through for 2 or almost 3 centuries before what we understand as civilization existed in this country. And so they were thankful that they were able to come to a country where they had no controls over how they thought, what they did, where they went, how they worshiped, or anything of that nature. And basically that's been the situation in this country or let's say the territory, for almost 400 years, and over 230 years as a country. And we need to get back to the roots of that understanding of what are we really thankful for. Do we really appreciate the independence that we have? That we can get into a car, just about go anywhere we want to, whenever we want to, as far as we want to. We can speak like this on the internet or on television or anything else and have freedom of speech by and large. We should be thankful for those things, that we still have that. Now, we see a creeping control coming in, which is very dangerous. And sometimes it's so subtle we don't even realize that there are controls that are beginning to be hatched over whether or not we can get into our car and go wherever we want, whether we can speak as we wish, whether we can worship as we wish. Sometimes worship is called hate speech because we follow a plan that was given to us, we believe, divinely by God, called the Scriptures or the Bible. And some people, because they have these particular political bents, say, oh no, that's hate speech when you do that. So there are a lot of things in this country that the John Birch Society has been very instrumental in preserving liberty and independence. Independence is just as important as the liberty, because without independence we're not going to have a liberty. If we're ruled by other countries, the United Nations and that sort of thing, we will lose our freedom. So there have been a lot of things over the years that the John Birch Society has done that have been rather subtle, but has actually preserved our freedom. Take the local police system, for instance. You know, most people don't realize that the United States is the only country with a local police structure. All the rest of them are either a national police or a hybrid of national police, where the local citizens, through their local representatives, city council, county commissioners, that kind of thing, control their local police. It's controlled at the top. And when you start to have that kind of system, the people at the bottom start becoming controlled and oppressed. And so the Support Your Local Police and Keep Them Independent program of the John Birch Society over the years has maintained that structure. Very vital to liberty. We should be thankful for that.
You know, I think when you look at the history of the 20th century, and you see how national police forces became suppressing national armies, but suppressing their own people's rights, I think if more Americans understood that, they would see just how valuable the local police are. And right now you've got groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter and the entire progressive establishment attacking the local police. Is it fair to say that many of these attacks on local police by progressives have nothing to do with police behavior and have everything to do with trying to move us to a national police force?
Correct. And keep in mind the admonition, the adage of Lord Acton when he said, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. If you combine all the police forces into one national police, that will become corrupt in and of itself, simply because of the power that it accumulates.
You had said something earlier I want to double back to on Thanksgiving. It's the idea that it seems to be the farther we as a culture move away from God, the less possible it is to be thankful. I mean, if you think about God and what we owe to God, if God exists, we owe him our life, our existence. And so there's already if you believe in God, there's already a relationship that requires gratitude.
Yes.
The more secular we become, it almost seems like thanksgiving and gratitude gives way to entitlement. And that seems to describe the divide between conservative and progressive, doesn't it?
Pretty much. Actually, it really does. And part of the things that are involved in liberty is responsibility. You know, we talk about the deterioration of morality and that sort of thing, which is occurring. But part of that morality is the assumption and embracing the responsibility for your own actions, for your own welfare, so on and so for your own family, for your own kids, so on and so forth. Too many people today look to government for that instead of themselves. And the further away we get from individual responsibility, the closer we get to oppression.
I'd like you to repeat here, because it's one of the most moving aspects of the society to me. Please state the motto of the John Birch Society, and let's talk a little bit about how that's all about. When you look at that motto, it's steeped in gratitude.
Yes, less government, more responsibility, and with God's help, a better world.
Wonderful.
Now, a lot of people don't realize the effect of the American citizen on the world itself. You know, we are involved in that great experiment that they gave us, the United States, the Constitution, the oldest Constitution in the world. Why? Because it works. And the thing is that the things that we do and the things we have done has been a lesson to the rest of the world. This is freedom, people. Copy it. We'd love to see you copy our system.
What I love about the motto, Art, is the yoking of gratitude with responsibility. Mm-hmm. If we are genuinely grateful to our God or genuinely grateful to our country, then we have a responsibility to act and think and behave in ways that uphold those institutions.
Absolutely.
Right? And we know that entitlement, which the progressives are pushing, entitlement takes away gratitude and it warps it into something very different. You've been a member of the society almost from the beginning. You mm-hmm. remember the origins of the society. You remember Mr. Welch, who founded it. What was his attitude towards gratitude? He was a humble man, a prayerful man. But what would you think his comment on gratitude would be on a Thanksgiving Day?
Well, just be thankful. Just be thankful for what we have in our families, our church, and our community. The things that allow us to be free citizens, and promote those things and work for those things. Responsibility is not only an individual thing, it's a group thing. So it's just not what I do as an individual, but how I participate with others in my neighborhood to be responsible for the livelihood and the well-being and common weal of the community.
I think you've done a great job explaining why gratitude matters and why we should give thanks, not just on Thanksgiving, but all year round. But let's flip this around. Give us some reasons. I know them and you know them, but for people who are just tuning in the next minute or so, give us some reasons, just rattle them off, why the American people have every reason to be grateful to the programs and the agenda items that the John Birch Society has pursued for well over 50 years now.
Okay, we already discussed the local police situation. We have prevented the United Nations from taking over much of the United States already through various programs that we've had. During the impeach Earl Warren campaign, we got across to the American people the importance of knowing who is going to be appointed to the court, and that the court is to decide laws based on the Constitution and not make law itself. We've done other things as well in the way of informing people as to what's going on in Congress. We have a lot of people that look at our magazine and on television and on the internet and that sort of thing, informing people as to what's going on. Information and education is so paramount to freedom. And that's one of the things that we've done. Without the John Birch Society, this would be a very different America, believe me.
It would. And one of those fights is the preeminent organization fighting the Constitutional Convention. Let's not change the greatest document in American history. Let's follow it, and let's give thanks for it. Art Thompson, thank you so much for joining me today, CEO of the John Birch Society. I'm Dr. Duke, and this has been The New American.